The big story in South Africa at the moment is the fallout after Lt General Mkhwanazi made some pretty harsh statements on the 7th of July. We have, as a consequence of that, the Madlanga Commission, and we also have an ad hoc committee in Parliament investigating exactly what he had to say. Glynnis Breytenbach is the perfect person to help us through that. She is the DA's spokesperson on justice, which means her watching brief would be over the Madlanga Commission. But on top of that, she is a member of the ad hoc committee in Parliament. She's with us today. Glynnis, thank you for giving us some of your time. I know it's been hectically busy for you recently, but maybe for members of the public, why do we have to have these two commissions going at it hammer and tongs? Why not just one?
The outcomes are somewhat different. So, I mean, the first of all, the terms of reference of the Madlanga, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, and the terms of reference of the ad hoc committee are slightly different because you have different powers and different responsibilities. So, the Madlanga Commission is a Judicial Commission of Inquiry. They're tasked to investigate a range of issues that were framed for them by the president. Their terms of reference have been set up. They will investigate. It will take them quite a while. They'll, collect and gather a lot more information and evidence than the ad hoc committee will be able to do. And at the end of their process, they make recommendations to the president. And, knowing our president and his penchant for acting with alacrity, he'll sit on it for a while and then he'll decide, to do something or not to do something. The ad hoc committee doesn't have that luxury. We have a finite life, so we have to be finished by the end of November. We have to report to the National Assembly, make recommendations on how to fix what we find wrong in the police and the wider criminal justice system. And then that will be debated in the National Assembly, and then those issues will be referred to the various portfolio committees, so police, justice, and state security, and we'll be tasked with overseeing the implementation of the recommendations in order to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again, and that the ills in the police that have been exposed are fixed, and not only in the police, as I say, it's the wider criminal justice system. So we have a finite life with definite outcomes. The Madlanga Commission has a longer life with recommendations made to the president.
That's very heartening for members of the public that you are going to be giving by the end of November you'll be ending at the end of November and then giving some recommendations. But is it likely, from what you've seen so far and from the action of the other members of the committee, that we will be fixing the problem, or is this a bit of a damage control exercise by those who have been appearing before you?
It's certainly not a damage control exercise. So, the revelations of, and in inverted commas, the revelations of General Mkhwanazi are really not revelations. Everybody who is mildly informed in South Africa knows that these problems have existed in a greater or lesser degree for the last 15 years. Unless you live under a rock somewhere, you are aware of the fact that corruption is endemic and systemic, and that the police and the wider criminal justice system are beset with problems of corruption. And I'm not suggesting for one moment that everybody involved in the criminal justice system is corrupt. Quite the opposite. Most people in the criminal justice system, prosecutors, policemen, everybody else who works in that system goes to work every day and does their very best under very difficult circumstances. But there is an element of corruption, and it's insidious, and it has just grown in strength and boldness over the last decade. And so it's not news. It's not news. It's just that, attention has now been directed to it. So there's the focus. But certainly it's the intention of the members of the committee and that's clear from the interactions in the committee. It's the intention of the members in the committee to focus on those issues that are most pressing and to find solutions for them. Yes.
Robertson, a small town in the middle of nowhere where a wine farmer claims to have sold a Volkswagen up to WeBuyCars. A farmer. What car did you really sell them?
A VW.
Right here in Robertson.
Small town, but we know about WeBuyCars.
Yeah, but what's a farmer doing with a VW up?
It was just a runaround.
Cool cover story. And I see you traded it in for this, like a double cab Renault. Were they all out of ranges?
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Who is on that committee and how were they selected?
Well, it's all the parties. All the parties in Parliament are represented on the committee, as is with any other committee in Parliament, and it's proportional representation. So, dependent on your on the numbers you have in Parliament in the National Assembly, those are how the numbers are divided up. So, every party is represented, and the smaller parties have one representative from a number of parties because they don't have sufficient representation to have a member each. Otherwise, the committee would just be too big. So, but all the parties are represented.
And from your side, from the DA's side?
Well, we have two full members, myself and Ian Cameron, and we have two alternates, Diane Kohler and Diane Kohler Barnard. The ANC has two full members and two alternates. The MK party has, I think, two full members and two alternates, and then the other parties have, less. So EFF has one full member, Julius Malema, and one alternate. Who else is there? Patriotic Alliance has
that's a pretty
member,
strong,
and then the other smaller
strong
parties are represented by two other members. Yeah, can't hear you.
It's a pretty strong grouping with yourself and Ian Cameron being there. I was just wondering, though, about Diane Kohler Barnard, given that she was mentioned by Mkhwanazi in dispatches. Is that not a bit uncomfortable for her to be involved in some way?
Not at all. Mr. General Mkhwanazi mentioned a lot of people, including me. So I think he drank, a little bit of his own Kool-Aid, and the more he enjoyed the limelight, the wider his net was cast. But what he said about Diane Kohler Barnard is patently incorrect, So yes, yeah, he alleged that she was part of he withdrew the bit that she was part of a criminal syndicate, and he climbed off that horse. But he says that she used information that she got in the JSCI, which is a secret committee, a closed committee, to pose questions in the police committee, which is, of course, is patently untrue. When those questions were asked, the information that underpinned the questions came from public media sources that they were just using all the newspapers, and the JSCI had not yet been informed. So clearly, he misunderstands the role of oversight of an MP. So that's really not a problem, and I think the least bit uncomfortable for him to be there.
You're in a wonderful position. 26 years as one of the most well-respected advocates, prosecutors in the country with a national prosecuting authority. So you've got that background before you went into politics. But you would also be able to presumably see the wheat from the chaff as far as those who are presenting at the ad hoc committee are concerned, and no doubt what you've seen on the Madlanga Commission. Before we go into the veracity of the witnesses, what's the most shocking thing that's come out for you that you didn't know so far? As you said earlier, a lot of this has not perhaps been in the front of our consciousness, but it has been around.
Yeah, I've got to say that after 26 years in the National Prosecuting Authority and 12 years in Parliament, there's nothing that has been mentioned that has shocked me even mildly. So nothing is shocking. I understand that it's shocking for people who don't deal with it every day. But the fact that, the top echelon of the South African Police Service are either lame ducks or quite possibly corrupt is a problem. It's a serious problem. And unfortunately, we know that it's not limited to the top echelons of the South African Police Service. And again, I want to stress that that doesn't suggest that all policemen are corrupt. That's not the case. Or that all members of the judiciary are corrupt. That is definitely not the case. Or that all prosecutors are corrupt. That is not the case. but that all of those institutions appear to, in some degree or another, to have, problems that need to be dealt with. That is so, yeah.
And the NPA, where's it been in all of this? Surely this is its remit to sort this out or address it at least?
Well, the NPA's remit was to sort this out a long time ago. So they haven't done that. They've been spectacularly absent over the last 15 or so years. The rot started with Menzi Simelane being appointed as the national director, and it was downhill from there. And no matter how much we tried to shine the light on that, it didn't help. The NPA was thoroughly captured in the Zuma years. So the top management of the NPA was thoroughly captured in the Zuma years, and it's going to take a long time to recover from that. Shamila Batoya, I think, has done her very best to do that, to clean up. How successful she's been is debatable. I don't necessarily think it's for lack of trying, and that has had a catastrophic effect on the ability of the organization to prosecute grand corruption, organized crime, and those types of offences, racketeering. I can't think of one big organized crime or corruption matter that has been successfully prosecuted in the last 10 years, which is a terrible thing to have to say.
So it appears as though things only happen in our country when the public puts its attention on it. And right now, the public's attention is very, very much on this subject. When Mkhwanazi first came out, you were pretty critical of the way he went about it. Having seen the consequences of this, are you now feeling more comfortable that maybe he didn't have another way to go?
No, I don't think that I was critical. I'm an old prosecutor. I never accept things at face value. I always look behind the facade. That is what my experience has taught me to do, and that's what I did with General Mkhwanazi. So and I still hold the view that to appear on a Sunday afternoon on national television dressed in full battle fatigues of the task force, surrounded by people in the same uniform, all armed with automatic rifles, wearing face masks and balaclavas, I think that was something of a statement, and I'm not entirely sure that was the only or the best or the necessary way to go. If that's the way he chose to go, that's his prerogative. I question it. And I question what the message was. I was unfortunately not here at the ad hoc committee when he testified. I was at the Judicial Services Commission. But I do think that there were other options. And I don't necessarily accept that General Mkhwanazi, or anybody else for that matter, is a knight on a white horse. Everybody looks out for their own best interests, and it's my view that this is no different. This is not a totally altruistic, I have the best interests of South Africa at heart revelation. I don't believe that, and we'll get to what was behind it eventually. So I'm not critical of him. He did what he thought he had to do. I think it was unnecessarily alarmist, but they've now tried to portray the fact that they came to the portfolio committee and they've tried to blame the portfolio committee for not acting. We've seen what they presented to the portfolio committee, and it was none of the stuff that Mkhwanazi mentioned on that Sunday afternoon. So they didn't use that avenue.
And when you have a look at the performance of those who've appeared before the committee, has it been difficult for you to be able to get the truth out of them? Have they been obfuscating there as well? Or has there been almost a spirit of let's just clean everything up now?
Oh, hell no. Anything but. I wish. Every single person who's yet, with perhaps the exception of the Deputy Minister Boshelo yesterday, who appears to have nothing to hide. The others have all come and given long, drawn-out, long-winded answers to very concise questions in order to avoid answering the question. This committee is unfortunately not adversarial, and it's unfortunately not cross-examination in the sense that you would cross-examine in court. And so they have the latitude to do that, which is incredibly irritating, but also illuminating. When somebody obfuscates to the lengths that they do it, then clearly, you cannot put much stock in what they're saying. So the truth lies elsewhere, not in what they're saying here.
So what conclusions can we, the public, draw so far, given that everybody in South Africa has got an opinion on everything, it seems, from the Springboks and certainly through to Mkhwanazi? From what you've seen, should we be actually basing our thoughts on?
Well, this is a golden opportunity to shine a light on endemic corruption in the criminal justice system. It's been necessary for a long time, and this is sort of the abscess that has now burst. So we have this opportunity, we must seize it and use it, and to make sure that we make it count. So no matter how much obfuscation there is in the committee, the members will be able to draw their own conclusions from, the evidence presented, comparing notes and looking behind the facade. And we will come up with, I'm quite sure, very concrete and insightful recommendations. And I think everybody on the committee is quite determined to see them implemented. So at the end of all this, we will be able to reach, I think, conclusions, and we will certainly spend a lot of energy making sure that the recommendations are implemented, and in the oversight of these departments reporting to portfolio committees next year. So, this process will be finalized this year, and we'll start next year with putting the boot in and making sure that these ills are addressed. So that's a very positive outcome. What South Africans should really bear in mind is that everybody in the police service and everybody in the National Prosecuting Authority and everybody in the judiciary, whether it be judges or magistrates, are under-resourced in the extreme, overstretched to breaking point, and that makes them less effective and efficient than we would like them to be, no doubt. And South Africans should be aware of the fact that all of these, the entire criminal justice system is starved of budget, utterly starved of budget, and that's by design. And the design is, of course, to ensure that endemic corruption can continue to flourish, and that these people can operate with impunity, because that suits the agenda. So South Africans should be aware of that. When they complain about poor service from the police, understand they have no budget. When they see prosecutions failing, understand they have no budget. And when judges take a long time to deliver judgments, understand they have no support. They have no administrative support. They work in buildings that are decrepit. The entire criminal justice system is under-resourced and under-budgeted.
Are your members of the Government of National Unity going to be making this a priority, given that most rational thinking beings can say if you don't get the crime under control, if you don't get the corruption sorted, you're really never going to have an economy anyway?
Well, our members of the executive, I know, make an issue of this, and they emphasize it at every opportunity. And the DA has tabled a suite of private members' bills to try and address these ills, and they're not getting a lot of support for obvious reasons. If you support them, you're supporting your own passage into prison kind of thing. So it's not in your best interest. But I know that they will be pushing for the acceptance of these bills, and they will be pushing for the support for them in Parliament when they finally get debated.
Is there anything the private sector can do to assist in addressing this dreadful lack of resources, as you've described it?
Absolutely. The Anti-Corruption Commission private members' bill has been out for public comment. It's received overwhelming support from the private sector. But if they would push for those bills to be passed, that would be enormously helpful. I believe that would go a long way to addressing the scourge of corruption and organized crime. The bill addressing the issue of cybercrime and the cyber commissioner, also viewed with a jaundiced eye by some of the parties. I received overwhelming support from the private sector. I believe that bill will go a long way to addressing the problems of the lack of cybersecurity in South Africa, both private and public, and will go a long way to addressing crimes connected with that, because at the moment we're not on the back foot. We're like 6 months behind the criminals, and the bill revamping the situation regarding witness protection and whistleblowers. That bill, I think, if that could be supported by the public, that would also make a big difference in how we treat people who come forward as witnesses, and how we protect them, how we protect whistleblowers. And the bill advocates for the financial reward of whistleblowers and witnesses whose evidence helps to secure convictions. So I believe that suite of legislation will certainly help strengthen the criminal justice system.
Okay, so we've got something to work on. The other thing, when talking about whistleblowers, we've had witness A, witness B, witness C. Are they adequately protected? Are they going to be able to live a normal life after all of this, even though they haven't been named, and supposedly giving their evidence anonymously? It sounds like they've been very brave.
It requires bravery, of course, to give this kind of evidence. It requires bravery to be a whistleblower. On the other hand, if South Africans don't step up to the plate, this will never stop. And there are risks. There are always risks. And you can never guarantee 100% someone's safety. That's not possible. You can do your very best. And I sincerely hope that they are being protected. But it's risky. There is a risk. And you must take that decision for yourself when you make the disclosures. But if we don't step up, if we don't have ordinary South Africans stepping up to the plate, this will never end.
You've given us some very forthright views, as you always do. From your perspective, are there any regrets that you did not stick around at the NPA, or indeed that you could have done more at the NPA than what you're able to do in Parliament?
I have no regrets. Prosecuting is the best job in the world, and I loved it. And if the NPA had not become the institution it was in 2012, I would still have been there. But prosecuting is only the best job in the world if you can do it honestly. And if you can't do it honestly, you can't do it at all. You can't prosecute people selectively, and you cannot bow to political pressure. So when I wanted to prosecute Richard Mkhwanazi, I was instructed to withdraw the matter. I refused. My then superior, Lawrence Mkhwanazi, wrote a letter to Mkhwanazi's legal team and told them that he had withdrawn the matter, and provided them with a letter to that effect. So in court, we had no choice but to withdraw it. We withdrew it provisionally. I then wrote a long memorandum together with Jan Ferreira, and we informed the then national director, who was Nankobo Jiba. Incidentally, both Jiba and Mkhwanazi were found to be unfit in the Madlanga Commission and fired. We said we're going to take them on review because their decision was a political one and not based in law. And for my trouble, I got suspended the very next day. And then I was disciplined. They lost, 16 love. I won that case. But then, of course, the NPA was thoroughly captured, and there was no way to go on with those kind of prosecutions because they were blocked at every turn. And so I left because you can't prosecute dishonestly. You can't prosecute somebody for a traffic offense if you're not prosecuting somebody for using the COVID fund as their own personal bank account. So there was no room to move for me. I had to leave.
If you were to take a rating where 1 is the lowest and
Parliament
10 is...
gives me, Parliament gives me a very good platform to try and remedy those ills, and that's what I've used it for.
If you were to take a rating where 1 is the lowest and 10 is the highest, on the capture of the criminal justice system in South Africa? As you clearly, at the time that you left, it was probably 9 or 10 out of 10. Where would it be today?
Sadly, I would think it's still around 8, 7 or 8. Probably 8.
And what would it take to get it down to 0 from here?
A lot of hard work and a lot of serious action. So you'd need a lot of determination. You'd need to lead from the front. You would need people at the top of the NPA, the top structure of the NPA, top structure of police, to take bold action, not be afraid. It's not a popularity contest, really not. So fire the riffraff, get rid of them, deal with the consequences. There will be consequences, of course. There'll be endless litigation. Deal with it. Whatever it costs, it will be worth it. Fire them, start over. Because if you don't excise it and get rid of it, it will just continue to fester. So there's no nice, gentle way of doing it. You've got to get rid of the rot and start over. Mercilessly.
Is there any glimmer of political will that this could be done? You did mention the deputy minister, the ANC deputy minister, giving the kind of encouraging testimony that one would hope would show something in the right direction. But from where you're sitting now, as a rational thinker, as a logical thinker, because that's how you train, is there any glimmer of hope that we can hold on to?
Yes, absolutely. There's always hope. And I firmly believe that both of these institutions can be fixed. But as I said, it will require bold action and a merciless trimming of the rot. It's got to go. There's no nice way of doing it. You just got to fire them and start over. But of course, there's hope. Political will is another story. Certainly, my party has that political will. I'm not so sure about the others. I think their appetite is a little less than ours because, of course, the risk for them is enormous.
Glynnis Breytenbach is the Justice spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance, and she is one of the members of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, which is investigating the allegations made into the criminal justice system. I'm Alec Hogg from biznews.com.